Keir Starmer in hot water. The Prime Minister's explosive remarks about Whitehall have sent shockwaves through the civil service, sparking a revolt that's rocked the heart of government. Union leaders are accusing Starmer of betrayal, rivals are calling his leadership a disaster, and even Dominic Cummings has weighed in. And that's just the beginning. Starmer's decision to skip a major international event and the uproar over Sadiq Khan's knighthood have thrown his leadership into turmoil. Stay tuned as we dive into this unfolding scandal.
Robert, Chris Hope.
Chris Hope from GB News, Prime Minister. Again, sorry on secure borders. Your plan is to reduce net migration and reduce overall small boat crossings. GB News viewers will be saying simply, is that it, Prime Minister? Why can't you stop the boats and cut net migration to under 100,000? Is it because you can't or you don't want to? And just very quickly, can you afford all this with no more big tax rises?
Look, Chris, we are going to drive down migration, both legal and illegal. That will only be done with a serious plan. We had a gimmick for a number of years called Rwanda. What happened? The numbers went up. We wasted a lot of money, £700 million, removing 4 volunteers to Rwanda. It didn't work. The only way to make it work is to smash the gangs that are running the vile trade, and that's why we've invested so much in setting up the command that is needed to do that, and with the enforcement action that follows through. And as you know, there was a very significant arrest just the other week in relation to the work that we are doing. That is how you do it. That is serious. That is a government that absolutely is getting to grips with this. Same on legal migration. We had, you invite me to put an arbitrary number on it. For 14 years, we had an arbitrary number under the previous government. They said it was a hard cap. It wasn't hard, and it wasn't a cap. The net result of their deliberate policies was that migration went up 4 times, staggering those figures of last year. So we will not be following that approach. We're going to do this in a serious way to take migration down. And I think that's what the British public want, a serious plan to ensure we've got control of our borders, not arbitrary caps, not gimmicks, because if we've learned one thing from the last 14 years, it's that they have the opposite of the desired effect.
Chris Hope presses Keir Starmer on his declinist mentality remarks during a tense interview. Keir Starmer's speech at Pinewood Studios was supposed to mark a turning point, a bold reset for a Prime Minister eager to shake off criticism and present a fresh vision for Britain's future. But instead of applause, his remarks have unleashed a torrent of backlash that threatens to derail his premiership. During the speech, Starmer criticised Whitehall for being stuck in what he called a tepid bath of managed decline. His message was clear. Britain's civil service needs reform, ambition, and a cultural shift to match the government's bold aspirations. Channeling John F. Kennedy, Starmer declared, "You choose change not because it's easy, but because it's hard." However, what Starmer saw as an inspirational call to action, many civil servants perceived as an insult. Dave Penman, leader of the FDA union representing senior officials, responded with outrage, accusing the Prime Minister of betraying the very people who implement his policies. "I don't think the PM understands how damaging his words have been," Penman told the BBC. "They feel a sense of betrayal." Penman went further, likening Starmer's rhetoric to that of Donald Trump, a comparison that instantly dominated headlines. "Here we are, 5 months into this government, and already Trumpian language is being used to attack civil servants," Penman said. "It's divisive, it's damaging, and it's utterly unhelpful." The backlash didn't stop with the unions. Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Conservative Party, seized the opportunity to attack, describing Starmer's speech as evidence of a government in crisis. "This is nothing more than an emergency reset from a Prime Minister who's lost control," Badenoch said. "Labour wasn't ready to govern when they won the election, and this proves it." Meanwhile, Dominic Cummings, the controversial former advisor to Boris Johnson, weighed in with a characteristically sharp critique. Taking to social media, Cummings proclaimed, "Wasn't expecting Cummings was right to be the relaunched news, but here we are." Cummings, who has long advocated for dismantling the entrenched bureaucracy he calls the blob, saw Starmer's remarks as a validation of his own criticisms of Whitehall. But if Cummings was gloating, union leaders were doubling down. Steve Thomas, Deputy General Secretary of Prospect Union, accused Starmer of scapegoating civil servants to distract from his government's own failings. Reform may be necessary, but this is not the way to do it, Thomas said. Civil servants have been working tirelessly to keep this country running, often under immense pressure and with limited resources. Blaming them for policy failures is not just unfair, it's disgraceful. As the civil service revolt raged on, Starmer found himself facing criticism on another front: his absence from the grand reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The event, attended by President-elect Donald Trump, Prince William, and dozens of world leaders, was hailed as a symbol of resilience and international collaboration. But while Trump praised French President Emmanuel Macron for restoring Notre Dame to its highest glory, Starmer's absence raised eyebrows. GB News commentator Emily Carver called Starmer's decision to skip the event a missed opportunity to strengthen Britain's diplomatic ties. Donald Trump is there, Prince William is there. But where is Keir Starmer? Carver asked. It's utterly bizarre. This was a chance for Britain to show its commitment to cultural and international unity, and Starmer completely dropped the ball. Critics argue that attending the Notre Dame reopening would have been a low-risk, high-reward move for Starmer, offering him a chance to boost Britain's profile on the world stage. Instead, his absence allowed rivals to paint him as out of touch with international affairs. This could have been a moment to showcase Britain's leadership, Carver said. Instead, we're left wondering what the Prime Minister was thinking. And as if the Whitehall revolt and Notre Dame snub weren't enough, Starmer is now facing backlash over a reported decision to award Sadiq Khan a knighthood in his upcoming New Year honours list. The London mayor, who has faced criticism for his handling of crime and transport, is set to be recognised for nearly 2 decades of public service. But the news has sparked outrage among Khan's critics, who argue that his record doesn't justify such an accolade. Former Conservative MP Anna Firth delivered a blistering critique on GB News, declaring, "Let's be absolutely clear. It's the people of London who deserve a knighthood for putting up with Sadiq Khan." Firth cited rising knife crime rates and the controversial expansion of the ULEZ charge as evidence of Khan's alleged failures. "What has this man actually done to deserve a knighthood?" she asked. "He's failed on crime, he's failed on transport, and he's failed the people of London." Labour insiders have defended the decision, arguing that Khan's achievements, particularly his status as the first Muslim mayor of London, represent an important milestone in British politics. But for many, the timing of the announcement has only added to the perception that Starmer's government is out of touch with public sentiment. The cumulative effect of these controversies has left Starmer's leadership in a precarious position. What began as an attempt to reset his premiership has instead become a lightning rod for criticism. Rivals are calling him indecisive, unions are accusing him of betrayal, and even his allies are questioning his judgment. For Starmer, the road ahead is fraught with challenges. He must not only repair his relationship with the civil service, but also demonstrate that his government has a clear and achievable vision for the country. Meanwhile, his absence from the Notre Dame event and the uproar over Khan's knighthood have added to the perception that his leadership lacks focus and direction. As the scandal continues to unfold, one thing is clear: Keir Starmer is facing the toughest test of his premiership yet. Whether he can weather the storm and emerge stronger remains to be seen, but for now, the controversies show no sign of abating.